In this episode of Caves and Legends, we visit one of the best-known undeveloped caves in the northeast US. A limestone cave first explored in the early 1800s. Full of unexpected twists and turns, water-filled passageways, and tight squeezes. One that is enjoyed by both beginner and expert cavers alike. Get ready to go underground into Clarksville Cave. They are the sources of ancient myths and legends, the hideouts of outlaws and smugglers, places of awe and wonder for explorers and curiosity seekers. They were created through a perfect combination of raw materials, natural forces, and time. They are as beautiful as they are foreboding. They are caves. Now, through careful research and investigation, we will seek to reveal their forgotten stories and descend deep underground to experience their beauty and mystery firsthand. Follow along as we go in search of Caves and Legends. We arrive at Clarksville Preserve and make our way to the cave entrance. We meet up with veteran cave explorer Tom Engel, who tells us a little bit about the formation of Clarksville Cave.
My name's Tom Engel. I have been caving officially for almost 51 years. I first came here in '69. It was a lot of fun. I overdressed for the situation. I wore an old winter jacket. It was just too much. I enjoyed myself. Clarksville Cave is formed in the Onondaga limestone. Humans tend to think that 100 years is a long time. And if you tell them that the rock here, the Onondaga limestone, is 385 million years old, it doesn't really register. If you look at a map of it, you'll see that it's relatively linear, it's relatively straight. Wiggles around inside a little bit, and there's a few side passages, mostly to the west side, but the cave is fairly straight north-south. That's because the cave is formed on what we call the strike of a series of faults. So the whole control of the cave, in terms of its initial formation, was controlled by the faults.
After climbing down some slick rocks, we enter a large room and immediately notice clues to the formation of the cave.
The other thing that has affected this cave was a lot of infilling with glacial debris, and then it was subsequently excavated again at the close of the glaciers.
This is an alluvial deposit. You can tell by the round stones, and it must be relatively recent history because it's bound up with clay, so I imagine probably from glacial flow when the glaciers were melting.
As we proceed deeper, we are met with something completely unexpected. A dry, straight passage with enough space to allow us to comfortably walk upright. This is Perry Avenue, named after the famous cave explorer Clay Perry, who visited this cave in the 1940s. But this walk down Perry Avenue doesn't last long. Soon the ceiling closes in on us. The floor becomes flooded, and we find ourselves crawling on our hands and knees. After all, it wouldn't be proper caving if we aren't getting wet and muddy. We crawl over boulder after boulder until we are finally met with a picturesque pool in a large chamber, appropriately called the lake room. Steve decides to check out the far side of the room. He skirts the edge of the pool and disappears into a crevice. He soon reappears in a sculpted passage flooded with clear green water.
The average temperature here is around 52 degrees, and this water has been flowing very, very slowly, and it came in several miles upstream. So it's been underground for a long time, so it's cold water. It's not from the surface. And your body goes numb pretty quickly.
After taking in the beauty of the lake room, we turn around and head back. But this time we decide to take a slightly more adventurous route. We enter a series of flooded arched tunnels. We make our way out of the cold, murky water and back to exactly the place where we first entered the cave. But our day is not over yet. We have only seen half of what Clarksville Cave has to offer. After a few minutes on dry land, we get right back into the water in the aptly named bathtub. Clarksville has so far proved to be a fairly easy to navigate cave. So when Steve mentions that we are now heading into the Corkscrew, I figured that is all about to change.
You just gotta trust that you fit.
As he disappears into a narrow slot, I can only follow him and hope for the best, with Mark trailing behind me. After much contorting and squeezing, we all somehow manage to pop out of a hole in the ceiling of a lower part of the cave. This section is not as wet as the rest of the cave, and we encounter beautiful tufa dams.
And the slow-moving water has formed these tufa dams out of calcite, which are kind of a muddy mess right now, but in the springtime it's a lot more washed, and you have little pools of water and little cascading waterfalls.
We skirt the edge of the delicate dams and proceed deeper into the cave. I am beginning to see why Clarksville is so popular with cavers, and we are thoroughly enjoying our day down here. I can't help thinking about the countless millennia that passed as this cave grew inch by inch in height, width, and length, and how all we see today was sculpted by no more than water and time, including this perfect chute that we are now going to slide down.
It's like I'm a kid again, going down a slide.
Who says geology can't be fun? The chute spits us out in Brinley Sump, which we wade into without hesitation, having grown used to the cold cave water. Step by wet step, we make our way out of the water and are soon met with an interesting find.
So we just came out of Brindley Sump, which is named after this historic graffiti.
After coming this far, I can certainly appreciate the courage of the early explorers that first penetrated the blackness of the cave by only candlelight.
I have found a date, a petroglyph, in the cave dated 1811. The first newspaper account of it goes back to 1814. We know that Amos Eaton, who was one of the founders of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, would bring his students here. It's the oldest commercial cave in the state. The cave was probably a commercial operation in that sense from about 1820 to maybe 1870. But they were led cave trips. You went there, you paid your money, and you were guided on a caving trip. By end of the 19th century, I don't think the cave got many visits.
And this historic graffiti is a reminder that people have been coming here and exploring the depths of Clarksville Cave for a long time, and will likely continue to enjoy it for a long time into the future. We enjoy every minute of our well-earned promenade along this open passageway. But it all ends too soon when we reach an exit to the cave. We prepare ourselves for an explosion of color as we reach the surface world.
So the whole time you're seeing just a dull color in this particular cave, and then you pop out of the entrance and all you see the most vivid greens and yellows and the blue sky, and everything's just so bright and almost fluorescent.
We have completed an exciting journey through Clarksville Cave. And although we learned a lot about the cave, we also realized there is still much that we don't know.
You know, Aldo Leopold, in his book Sand County Almanac, says, "Wouldn't it be a dull world if we knew everything about geese?"
If we knew everything about geese?
Yeah. It would be a dull world if we knew everything about caves.
The mix of crawling, squeezing, wading, and casual strolling made for a varied and enjoyable caving experience.
Isn't that what caving should be? It should be about enjoying yourself. That and discovery.